It's early in the morning, like 3 a.m. Sometimes I can't sleep, so I come out to the studio and work out my thoughts. But, you know, it's not always glamorous. When you're like in it, you're kind of in it, and you're just like moving around in this process. Like, I have about like 9 things going in various sizes and various substrates, and there seems to be a fire burning. I've been using this sheetrock compound on these canvases, and trying to play with the surface just because I love the texture. I love the texture of paper, and there are pieces of paper in here as like collaged elements, but I wanted like another element that was going to essentially I can carve into. So I've been experimenting. The big thing that was holding me back was like getting lost in how in other appearances. So I stopped kind of looking at too many things when listening. I stopped like listening and looking, and just really went internal the last few years. And then also coupled with these like big explosions in the last few years that really set me back. So like that is kind of influencing the direction of things, which is strange. But like your life is going to influence like what you're working on, especially if you're working a lot. And that's maybe why you can't always control either aspect really. So the thing about it is just like kind of moving that emotion, even like the quote negative ones, because like we always just there's like a toxic positivity in a way. Like it can't always be positive, of course. Like it doesn't mean you should dwell on the negative either, because it's kind of like finding that balance and realizing, ooh, one day is gonna be like absolute shit, and then another day is gonna be an absolute like ecstatic dance, you know, like a jubilee. So it's like all here for the taking, and like I'm interested in like going into all of those emotions and starting to express out like even like a more negative quality or side, or what would be labeled as such. But I'm interested in like taking away all the labels from things, including things that are labeled and dictated in art. So then that like changes my whole perception of everything. You know, these are good 3 a.m. thoughts, you know. It's just like, this is like the intensity and depth that you can actually have with yourself, and have those conversations, you know. And it can be about that too. Like that could just be purely be your intent. What I just said. It's about like taking all the labels off and then like going in that direction and not even really thinking about what you were told in any kind of fashion, and then just getting, and that takes, to me that has taken longer to like break all that, and then having setbacks in my personal life kind of like impacted like how I can show up to the work, or if I could even show up. I mean, I was always showing up, but it just impacted other areas, and then it was harder to get back out um, of myself, because I'm like, my tendency and pattern is to just like go so internal that I shut down. And like, actually, art is like something that really helps me come out, uh, and like kind of balance all of myself in the process. So it's like a twofold thing. Like, I really don't look at it as a product, although it is. Um, but it's more about the process for me. And you can see that even in the directions that I've chosen right now to go in. Like, you can tell it's about the process. um, it doesn't mean that it doesn't become a product. It's just, I like allow myself all the sides now, and that's starting to change everything. And I don't really know what that means for me, because it scares me a little bit, but it also feels more free. And in that freedom, I feel like there's a lot of excitement coming behind that, because my voice is like very open now, and it wasn't before, because of the setbacks and just the sensitivity. So I'm like, you're kind of meeting me on this channel, like in my own growth phase, and then that's always like, that's kind of weird, because I have some information, but I don't have all the information, right? I don't want to like pretend that I know it all, because that would be silly. I actually am like more going out into the unknown, and I actually do better out there anyway. Like, functioning, because this like linear world doesn't make sense to me. And that's kind of how abstraction has always come. You know, it's always been this thing. Even when I was a kid, you know, I have to have coffee because it's like 3 a.m. I don't know. And what happens is, it's different for everyone, you know, life and experience, and where we're at, and what happens, and what we choose, and what we can't control, and all that like influences us, right? Even the pain. And I was thinking like how sad I really am, behind it all. Sometimes, because of what's happened, not just in the last year or so, but like my whole life. And there's this, I can see how that goes into the work, you know. And so it becomes like really super personal, like in mysterious ways. And you can really allow yourself to have those emotions, but not always. You don't have to say it out loud. I've been like liking to say everything now, because it's helping me. And it's also in my teaching. It's in like how I'm teaching people and coaching people, and to not turn away from things, because I guess, in regards to freedom, to me, if you're looking for that in our life, it's like, don't turn away, see what's there, and address the issues, right? And of course, we can't always control what other people do, but we can control like where we are and how we entertain everything. And then if you're an emotional painter, you can really take those energies and turn them into movements and motions, and like work into the work. And it's a lot, really, and I'm trying to been breaking it down just to teach it more, and to be even more like not linear, but I hate words sometimes, because they don't always contain like what you're trying to do, but there is something about trying to take the abstract and make it more generalized, and even take abstract spiritual and ethereal concepts and bring them into the world. And I suppose painting is great because if you don't want to entertain words and you don't want to physically, verbally say it, then you can tell. You don't have to, but if you want to speak, which painting for me has really brought my voice out over the last 6 years. And then I've had these personal setbacks that really shoved me back in just because I'm so sensitive, and I've really, and now that I'm back out, I'm excited because I feel like the most free that I've ever felt, not just in the work, but in speaking about it and showing up. And I'm even like daring to come on here at 3 a.m. and make this video. I like these moments. They seem more like intimate and personal, and I'm not trying to pretend that it's something else. I'm like tired of pretending. That's one thing that I know for sure. And if you're tired of that, like for your life or for your art, or you've been hiding behind all these constructs or what someone else told you or what somebody else did to you, and it was hurtful, and you can't let it go, or whatever it is in any area, and maybe it's just you that could have let something go from a long time ago or something. But when we're hiding behind those things, it really gets in the way of living into our authentic expressions. So it's kind of like learning how to you have two hands, balance the stuff, and come out and let some of the stuff's not gonna look good, because I bet every single person living on this planet has made some mistakes, and there's sometimes shame and guilt and fear around that stuff. We can essentially mold ourselves into new creations and let go of what is in the way. And the reason why I love art making so much is because you can really put your emotionality into it and take all of those psychological and philosophical and metaphysical and esoteric and ethereal and abstract concepts, and wherever you're dwelling, and it doesn't have to be that deep, but it's always going to be deep over here, and you can go somewhere and make the work, and that's exciting. I'm getting excited, and I'm not even awake really. And I could talk about that forever because I'm in love with that. I'm all of that. And the first abstract artists were really more spiritualists. You have Wassily Kandinsky and Hilma af Klint, and that was all spiritual, and people don't really bring that element in. And that the main point is, this is me, and everything that influences me and inspires me, excites me, delights me, sometimes scares me, and that's important, all those things, to look at all of the things and not turn it away, and then assess where you are and what you want, because it's your work and it's your life and it's your, it's you, because even if you learn, you're going to take elements and pick and choose, and that becomes, the amalgamation of what this is. If you're really doing the work, and that's kind of where voice is coming from. It's coming from this and that and this and that and this, and then rejecting that, and then of course making choices here. But to me it's more of an internal intimacy and connection and trust, and it's very like psychological and philosophical and metaphysical and esoteric and all that. So it's bringing that personal, like pulling all that in to the work, which that could take time, and and I don't think we allow ourselves, because we live in this culture that always says, if I just take this pill, if I just do this thing, then it will be like this magical moment, which there are a lot of magical moments that can happen, but when it's not happening, you gotta be able to stay with it and stay in it. Because it's easy when someone tells you from 30 years ago and they're highly successful, or whatever. But we can also like redefine success. Success could just look like showing up every day. Success could just be like getting out of bed every day, depending on where you are. So we gotta like think about all these broad-based things and access it for where we are individually, right? So people don't really talk about the individual journey. They kind of like broaden out from where they are. And that can be hurtful sometimes, I find. And I don't, it's not like it's intentional, but it's not just not accurate depiction of what it really takes and what it can mean. But like in circumstances, really can influence and impact and affect where you're able to go. And it may be harder, like in certain areas and realms than other areas and realms. And so you gotta be gentle with yourself and have some compassion, right? If your circumstances aren't necessarily like the highest ones you can have to put into this parameter of creating and making work, like it's like, so it's like accessing every part of yourself holistically, like where are you really at and what do you really want. And you can do this for about painting or just about life, and what are these goals and aspirations, and then defining it for yourself and redefining it too, right? Because it's gonna change over time, and there's a lot that goes into it. And it's just about like learning how to be grateful for all of it wherever you are. That could be the hard part, when we can get lost in the external and forget about it's our personal journey, right? And it's gonna like look different for everyone because, well, we didn't have the same life experiences. So that's a really good thing to speak about, because life experiences are really gonna like impact the way you perceive the art, even the art world and even the world. Because if you've lived a very different life like I have, you're not going to look through the same lenses of things, and then it's going to dramatically change the way you even feel about it. But if you've been trying to like force yourself into something that doesn't fit, well, you'll be able to do that for so long, and then eventually it will like just hurt so bad. And so if you're doing that, just know that like you can have what you want for yourself, but it hurts to like strip that old identity or to maybe go in an opposite direction that like you don't really see out there. So I guess that's what I just want to be, an encourager of these kinds of concepts. Like if you are feeling like pulled away from all the things that don't make sense, and you really want to dial back into your work and in a different kind of way, or just you really want to take on a direction that seems impossible or something. It just takes a lot of all of those awarenesses and knowing that it could be a while before something starts to turn, or it could not be. I can't say what it is or what determines this and why that, because life is ultimately like this mystery that we learn to bow to, because it is bigger than us. And so it's remembering that the process is about, I think, mostly returning to how do we open our hearts more, not just to ourselves but to each other, and into the work. How do we let that speak through us, right? I always think about songs when I'm super impacted by a song, in a dramatic way. I want the work to be like a song, but song is not static, so but you can really have a transcendent moment in a song, and that's interesting to me. So I'm always how do I make my work be transcendent like a song? I'm always trying to make everything hard, but it's just the feeling is what I'm looking for the most, and it's hard to convey a feeling. It takes a lot of opening. It's easy to kind of conform to form, but I think it's harder to let go. Just the way I see it, though. So anyway, I'm gonna stop this video. It's 3 a.m. thoughts, and I think I'll post it. So if you're seeing this, that means I posted it. It's a little weird. But I wouldn't like it any other way, so